Hi, welcome to the Disc Dog Pod. I am your host, Jeff Hill, and with my co-host.
Kirby McIlveen.
And guess what I really like a lot? Do you know?
Little doggies.
Little doggies. They're one of my favorite things ever. Not just regular doggies, but little doggies. And
just in general, not even little Frisbee dogs,
right.
Just little doggies.
That's right.
I mean, me too. But
so today we're going to talk about MicroDogs, and in some divisions it's just called small dog. And we're going to talk about all different things, advantages and disadvantages, and how we play with them and some of our dogs. And why don't you start off with your MicroDogs? Because you started before me in MicroDogs.
Sure. Let's introduce the MicroDogs. So I unintentionally got a MicroDog. So this little dog that I rescued with no intention of being a disc dog ended up not growing as big as I thought he was going to be. I got him from the shelter. He's probably like 3 months old. He still had puppy teeth. His name is Spirit. And if you've been playing for a while, you may have seen me compete with Spirit a while ago. But he's a cute little white mixed dog that kind of looks like you might have Jack Russell or Beagle or maybe Lab. But I thought he was a Lab mix puppy, and I thought he was going to be more like 40 pounds, a little bit on the bigger side. And I just expected him to be a couch potato, but Spirit was not going to have that, especially when his other family members in the house were playing discs. So I got him as a puppy and with no expectations, but he saw Torch playing, and then I'd put the discs up when Torch was done. And, what do you know? I went back to my desk, and Spirit comes over with a Frisbee in his mouth, and he's putting it in my lap. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess you want to try this, huh? I didn't think you'd have any interest.
That was a full-size disc?
Yeah, it was a full-size disc.
It's as big as him.
Yeah, and he's little tiny. He's about 20 pounds, maybe 15 and a half inches tall, just for reference. And, well, of course, his mohawk on his back, he's got like this wiry terrier fur. That probably adds an inch if you wanted to measure to the top of the fur. But but really, he's more like 15 and a half inches. But so he refused to say no. He's like, no, you're not going to get away with just playing with him and not me. So I tried it, and he was totally into it. And so I was like, okay, I guess I got another Frisbee dog. I wasn't expecting that. And
I remember when you got him, the thing was that I swear he didn't grow.
No, that was the thing is I got him, and he's like 3 months old. And I'm like thinking, okay, I mean, he still had puppy teeth. So I was expecting the teeth to fall out. He'd have some growth spurts, and he'd get a little bigger. He didn't get bigger at all. The adult teeth came in. He stopped growing. Yeah. I'm like, what is going on?
It was really weird.
And then it was amazing because he was kind of a foster fill. He was my first foster dog. He was supposed to go to another foster, but there's a whole long story with Spirit, which we'll talk about that another day. But
and he's the namesake of your rescue?
Yes, he is. Canine Spirit Organization is named after him. He first foster dog, first foster fail, of course. He didn't go anywhere, but yeah, he was just all about it. So he didn't grow. The one thing that came out, though, as soon as I said, okay, we're going to keep you, is he started sprouting terrier fur all over. I had no idea he had any terrier in him. But then as soon as I said, okay, you can stay, that naughty little terrier fur all came out, and his naughty little attitude came out, too.
And his hair does come out. Oh, my.
He was putting on, like, an act, I swear. He was, like, totally being, like, putting on the good boy act. And then as soon as we said, you're adopted, then he's like, oh, I'm in. I can be naughty now. So anyway, so we started competing, I think, in 2012 and did some freestyle. And, over the years did MicroDog, which I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I, didn't expect to have a MicroDog. And of course, he liked the little discs. So, so we played with those. And yeah, it was kind of a fun adventure. And then I think you ended up with an unexpected MicroDog too, right?
Yeah, our standard Aussie Key ended up being very small.
Yes.
And she easily made the cutoff, and she was in the MicroDog division for Skyhounds, and she was awesome. I mean, she was at one of the bigger dogs in the division, other than maybe some of the border collies that were in there. She was probably the biggest outside of them. And she was just insanely athletic, more than most of MicroDogs, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, it helps too. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but the Skyhounds cutoff for MicroDog, as it currently stands and has stood for a little while now, is 17 inches tall.
At the shoulders, yep.
Yes, at the withers. So And AWI is a little different. There's a 16. Again, we'll
Right.
talk about this later. But so Key made it in kind of just barely to Skyhounds, right? She was pretty close.
Yeah, she
to
was
17.
16 3/4,
Yeah.
and she measured under 17 in agility as well. So
Yeah,
she has
she's
height
under
cards for it.
17. She's
So she
just
made
one
it.
of the bigger ones
And,
in micro.
she had really, really good jumping and good speed, and she was kind of crazy when you watch her play. It looked fun, you know.
She was
had a lot
not
of fun.
lacking in drive, that was for sure.
And unfortunately, she had epilepsy, and she was only able to compete in MicroDog for 2 years. That was it. And then she wasn't able to ever compete again. But she was really successful.
I mean, and
really,
for a
really
short career,
successful.
she sure won a lot. I mean, she did really, really well.
Yeah, and then you technically got the next one.
Yeah, I did. Well, so this time it was a little bit more on purpose, trying to get a smaller dog. And, you know, if you've seen Border Paps, you know, they are cute. I mean, I chose to go with a Border Pap because honestly, I thought, well, I think it's a crapshoot when you get a dog, and especially if you're trying to get a small Frisbee dog, because I think it's just less common. I mean, if you get a full-size Border Collie or an Aussie, it's probably a pretty good chance they're going to play disc. But there's not really a lot of small dogs that are you know, super likely to play disc. Maybe a mini Aussie is probably pretty likely, but that I wasn't really looking for a mini Aussie. And you know, I saw Border Pap, and she's probably not. These people probably are not listening or know her because she's part of the agility world. But I saw Karen Glore from Arizona's Ray, and I was like, that was the first time I'd seen a Border Pap in person, and I thought, oh my God, that's like so cute. That is like one of the cutest little dogs I've ever seen. And she was throwing the disc for it, and it was like crazy about the Frisbee. And I was like, oh my gosh, that dog is adorable. It's crazy, and I want one like that. That's so cute. And so I contacted the person that Ray came from, who's Amber Abbott, who I think I've probably mentioned on the podcast before. But I wanted a Border Pup. I mean, main reason, I mean, they're cute. I've never seen a Border Pup that wasn't ridiculously cute. Every single one is adorable. So I thought, well, even if she doesn't play Frisbee, she probably will, you know, like to do tricks or, you know, go for a run or whatever. Like, and she'll just be really cute. And I won't be able to stop looking at her. So anyway, I ended up with Flair, who absolutely is crazy about the disc. I mean, she lives for it. So I kind of got my wishes of an absolutely adorable dog that loves to play disc, and that's Flair. And I think she's probably, most of you guys listening, if you have seen me compete, have seen me play with Flair, who is an awesome little freestyle dog, and she's super fun to watch. She's really athletic. She's fast. She jumps. She just loves to go, go, go. And I think freestyle is her favorite because she just gets to catch one after another, and she's so excited about that. That makes her really, really happy. So she's about to turn 5, so she's in her prime, coming up into her prime right now.
And you've had a lot of success with her as well.
Yeah, she's been multiple time world champion. She's even won the bigger dog, the open freestyle, not with the toss and fetch included, but with just the freestyle standalone event. She's won against the big dogs, so she's pretty awesome. And not long after I got Flair, you got a little dog.
So I was no longer able to compete in the MicroDog division because Key wasn't able to compete. And this was
2021, right?
Yeah, beginning of 2021.
Because I got Flair 2020, and you were not long after getting Bomba.
Beginning of 2021, wanted to get a new dog. So we had a dog, Toonie, who was really small. And Jen just happened to still kind of know all the lines and where Toonie came from and knew the breeder still. So she got in contact with her, and we were on a list for a puppy. And then she contacts us back a few weeks later. She says, you know, I got this girl that maybe you should really check her out. And she's not a puppy. She was like, I think at that time, like 10 months old, maybe 9 months old, because it took us a few months to actually get her.
Yeah, she was under a year though. But not
right.
a puppy.
Right. She was around 9 months when she first told us about her. Sent us pictures, adorable, and cute as could be. And we're like, well, how tall is she? And that's not something that, you know, the breeder really pays much attention to exactly. And she wasn't really sure. She said, I think she's under 17 inches. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like it. She took a tape measure, I think. Yeah, her name is Kathy Munson, the breeder. She's really nice. She's in near Reno. And so we said, well, maybe we should just go check her out. So we tried to make plans to go check out Bon Bon, whose original name was Princess Pippa, because she is a princess. But we were already calling Key Princess Key or Princess Corncob. So
and once you have one princess in the house, you
we couldn't have another one.
Have another
so
princess.
We ended up calling her Bon Bon because she looks like a bonbon. And so we went up there, and we kept trying to go up, but we were she got COVID, and then there was a snowstorm, and it just kept getting delayed.
Everything in the world did not want you to go get this dog.
So this was in January when we start. Finally, in March to April, we finally are able to get up there and see her. And because it was COVID, she hadn't been out much and wasn't socialized as much as she normally would have been. And she didn't even want to see us or talk to us or anything. So we brought her home, and I was really worried that she wouldn't want to stay. We'd have to take her back. But after a couple weeks, she started to settle in. And then I finally introduced a Frisbee to her. And the very first time I took the Frisbee out and did a roller, she just looked at it, and she just walked over to it and picked it up and brought it back. And she dropped it and just kind of looked at me. And that was it for that session.
And the light bulb was kind of like starting to flicker. I could see it coming on.
And then I went probably another few days and did a couple more. And then it was probably just as that second session, she started running after him and getting excited for it. And she was 11 months old at that time. And we go into the finals that season just 5-6 months later, and she wins I think 5 world championships just that year.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because she like turned on, like she was kind of like slow build for like just a month maybe.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden the light bulb turned on and she was crazy.
And it was crazy, and she was really good. I mean, just good.
Yeah, she was pretty naturally good at catching and stuff.
Yes.
And pretty.
And she's small.
She's back really fast and toss and fetch. Like right away. She was
yeah. She's only 14 3/4 inches tall.
She's tiny.
She's a bitty little girl. She is 20 pounds though. She's got a little weight on her. I mean, she's pretty strong girl.
She's not like a thin. See, because like Flair's 21, 22
and she's
pounds.
Taller,
maybe.
Yeah.
Or no, wait. I'm sorry. Spirit's like 22 pounds. She's only 20 pounds, and she's taller than Spirit and Bon Bon because she's like 16. Or so, like she's really on the edge of that 16, really close. So, but she's Flair's got longer legs and she's a little more kind of built like a toothpick, whereas like I don't want to say that Bon Bon's like a tank, but she's more tank.
She is, yeah. She's
stronger. She got more muscle on her, more bone.
She definitely looks girly, though. You know, she's very.
Her face looks girly.
She's really cute and everything. So I thought we should just go over real quick some of the ways you could play with a small dog, like the organizations where,
So of course, small dogs are accepted at any organization. I mean, there's no rules against them because who the heck wouldn't want to see a little dog play?
Yep.
But some organizations have made special divisions just for the small dogs, and just to try to encourage more people to get their small dogs out to play, and give a way to award those people that are playing with little dogs out there and doing an awesome job, which may or may not come with some advantages, disadvantages, which we'll cover in a little bit. But the first one that I think offered a small type dog division was Skyhounds.
Yep.
And they came up with the MicroDog division, and they've changed the rules and the criteria for what is a MicroDog a few times over the years. They used to have weight. It used to be weight or height. It used to be
height in the middle of the back, actually.
Yeah, they had height in the middle of the back. I mean, they've changed it over and over. And then they've kind of what has it been? Maybe 10 years or so that they have done 17 inches at the withers, and they measure the same way like AKC Agility does with the what is that called? The wicket.
And they do a very proper job, and you have to go. The dog has to be 2 years old before you can get a final height card. So you can get an initial one before they're 2 years old, but it's not final. It'll allow them to compete, but once they turn 2, they have to do it again to get a final card. And at this point, the same person is doing all the measurements, so it's consistent across the board.
Yeah, so typically what happens is like if you play locally and you're not in the Mad Dogs Club area that has the official Skyhounds judge that makes the final call, you'll have like a local judge that will give you kind of a preliminary measurement to just deem can you play or not today and try to qualify. And so assuming that they measure properly, they'll give you the okay to play that day. You'll measure under 17 inches. And then when you qualify and go to the finals, right now it's been Ray Lohman that's been measuring at the finals to give the final say, the final verdict. Is your dog a microdog? Can they enter? And he will give you the final okay to you can play at the finals. And I think what they've done typically is if the dog measures out, they will boost you into open, so you don't get totally screwed if your dog measures out. You just have to move up.
I could be wrong, but I don't think that's actually ever happened as far as I know of. I've never heard of anyone that's done that.
I'm trying to think. I want to say there was one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. So anyway, don't take our word for it, because I don't think this is in the rules on the Skyhounds website. But I believe that's generally the thought, is you still get to play. And
if you hear the term microdog, that does specifically mean Skyhounds.
Yes, that is a Skyhounds term, is microdog.
A lot of people use it interchangeably or globally because they did come up with it, and they were the only players in town for many years. So it's kind of like saying Kleenex, you know, it's kind of like the standard for it. Or Frisbee, exactly. And then the other thing about Skyhounds, and they're different than all the other organizations, is you must use their pup discs, which are much smaller. And there's a few different sizes. There's even a nano disc, a micro disc.
And they're really small.
And
that's
really
for
tiny.
all my friends out there with your Yorkies and your little Papillons and stuff that need a little tiny disc.
So they're
welcome to play with those.
I forget there's the pup disc, the K10 pup disc, and then there's a Z pup disc.
Well, so there's the pup disc. The pup is the term pup determines the size of the disc, and then they have different types. So they have like the Z disc, much like their larger line of discs. So they have the Z disc, and they have the competition standard style, and then there's different plastics within those. I mean, for me, I feel like it's almost easier to look at the website, because I feel like their website explains it pretty well, and it gives you more of a visual of what.
Yes.
But I think most people use the K10 pup jaws is generally the most common used.
And that's the kind of the original small dog disc. So it's kind of, and it's still around, and there's a reason for it. It's really good. So the other organizations don't have any disc requirements, but they all have different dog requirements.
Yes, they do. So we'll go with the next one, which I think was the next one to roll out the small dog program, which was UFO.
Yep.
And theirs is not consistent every year to year. Typically what they do is their world finals every other year. It flip-flops between the USA and Europe. And whenever the finals is not in one, the other one has a national championship type thing. I think in Europe, it's European championship, so it's a little bit different. But in the US, you have North American. I guess it's not national, it's more like continental. But anyway, so whoever has the one that is not the world championship typically holds the small dog world championship. Of course, we haven't had the North American championship here the last few years, so we haven't had a small dog world championship for UFO in the US for a while. So, but they have had it in Europe in the last few years, I think. So,
yeah, they've been having it every year there.
So I think it kind of flip-flops. It sort of depends on who's ready and willing to host it. Their rules for measuring the dogs are a little different. It's more like fly ball, and I believe, now don't come at me, fly ballers. I'm trying to remember all the rules. It's been a long, long time since I did fly ball, but I believe it's U-Fly that measures the ulna, which is like the forearm of the dog. And that is the way that UFO measures. So it's a totally different system.
And the idea behind that is that the dog can't crouch or do something you can't train the dog.
Yes.
It's the measurement of a bone that
you can get
pretty
a very
darn
accurate. Yeah, you can get a very accurate measurement. Whereas like, the wicket over the shoulders, the dogs might crouch, or they might, if they're nervous, they might stand up even taller. It's harder to get an accurate measurement. And the way that the dog sets themselves, I mean, just naturally, they may appear shorter or taller. So it's hard to get an accurate measurement. Whereas the ulna, you're measuring a bone, one bone. But, the difficulty with that is, while the measurement is really accurate, what
does it mean?
It depends on the dog. I mean, I'll be honest, I give it about as much validity as measuring the tail of the dog, because to me,
it is a little bit odd, because who ever thinks of that length to mean anything? Well, and
it does mean something, right? Okay, so you can take a dog like Torch, who's huge, right? 22 inches at the shoulder, and compare him to a dog like Bon Bon, who's 14 and a half. What did you say, 14 and a half or so?
14 and 3/4.
Anyway,
but then
there's
ask
obviously...
okay, but how long is it? Nobody knows. But you could say at the shoulder length, everyone has a pretty good estimate of how tall their dog is, but nobody can tell you what this length is on their dog. No one knows off the top of their head.
Here's my criticism of it, and I don't want to get too into that, but Key was taller than Flair. Flair does not meet the measurement criteria for the Olna for the UFO small dog. She's too big for it. It's 13 centimeters right now. So just for some perspective, it's very much based on how the dog is built, not as much like how tall they are.
Right.
Like it's a different system. So, if your dog measures in, lucky you.
and the good news is it's super simple to measure. Do it at home. Just get a tape measure in a few seconds. I mean, you can get it.
Yeah, it's
really
incredibly accurate.
Yeah,
so
it's
really easy to do.
And I think it's 15 centimeters.
No, I thought it was 13.
It changed.
It may have changed.
It did
I
change.
think it was 15 initially, then it changed.
And then they brought it back. So it's somewhere right around there. So figure 13.
Yeah. And of course, just 14. Keep in mind, I mean, all of these rules and measurements that we're saying, if you're watching this way in the future, I mean, we're recording in 2025, who knows what rules have changed since then. So these may all not even be valid in, 5-10 years. So who knows?
And for that division, the way the entry has been is you could either just say, hey, I got a small dog. I want to enter the small dog division, and you just play at the finals. Or you could already be qualified and do both, which is what Key did. Key was already qualified for the championship, for the overall championship, but then was able to play in the small dog. So it was like she did both.
That was like a special, it was a special thing that you could play for.
Right. And she didn't have to play any extra rounds or anything like that. She was just entered into both. And then the next one that I believe came out with a small dog type of division, or they have maybe multiple, is Up Dog. And they have different height divisions, and one of them is quite small. I think they have 3 or 4 different height divisions. It's a little different.
I don't remember the cutoff measure.
I don't remember any of the cutoffs.
But I think, whatever size dog you bring in, they fall into some category. So whether it's, it's not like the others where there's just a cutoff and you're either small dog or not.
Yeah, it's more of a special division too with the other organizations, I would say, because you're unique. You're a small dog, whereas in Up Dog, you're just in one of the divisions.
And one of them could be small.
And one of them could be a small dog.
And I think they call it like maybe midi.
They got mini,
and maxi.
Maxi. I think that might be what they got.
I think that's what they got. Something like that. Sorry, we don't have much Up Dog around here, so we're not as privy on the rules.
And there's one more.
Yeah. So AWI is another one.
2 more then.
Oh, what one were you thinking? Well, let's talk about AWI. You can come out with the surprise that I forgot about. So AWI is, they have a small dog division, and it's only overall. So there's no like special toss and fetch one. There's no special freestyle one. It's just the whole thing. You play overall combined. You're allowed to use any size disc, like UFO. Their measuring system is different from everybody else as well. It's 16 inches at the shoulder, and they use kind of like a set, or at least in the past, they've been using a set wicket the last 2 years to measure. And they usually just measure at the finals. So it's kind of like Skyhounds, where you get your preliminary measurement, and then at the finals they're going to tell you whether you meet the measurement or not. So it's a much smaller division because the size is much smaller.
Yes.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of dogs that fall between that 16 and 17 inch mark that are in Skyhounds. And a lot of those dogs don't make it into the AWI one because I think there's much fewer dogs that are lower than the 16 inches.
Right. And at the finals, there's usually under 10 dogs at the finals.
Yeah. And I think it's, it's a newer division too. So I think, people are just starting to learn about it. They may not realize that AWI even had this. So, if your dog measures under 16, get in that AWI small dog, because
you'll be in a small group of people competing.
Yeah, you'll be in a small group, but I think to keep it going, they want it to grow. They want more people to join in and do it. So, I think it's really important that if you do have a small dog, show yourself, get out there to AWI and show that, small dogs can do it too. And hopefully that event keeps running.
And so the other one is Toss and Fetch League.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And do you remember what it's called? It's the funniest name. It's
I
cool.
think it's Tiny Dog.
Tiny
right?
Dog. Come on, that's a great name. And I don't remember the exact size, to be honest with you. It's around 15.
I think they have it
Something.
measured in centimeters too. So I think it comes out to 15.75 inches.
And you get a bonus on each throw, like a point or half a point or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is. But Toss and Fetch League also. And then otherwise you play exactly the same as everybody else.
Yeah, you just play along with everybody. You just get a bonus. Lucky you.
So I thought maybe we could talk about some advantages and disadvantages of the MicroDog and using small discs, whether you're forced to use them or not.
Or you just choose to.
Or we choose to, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, in my case with Flair, I choose to. So even when we play in Big Dog Division or, whenever we're allowed to use big discs, I still use the little discs with her. And I think you do the same thing with Bon Bon,
And that's the same thing with Bon Bon. And I'd like to say that Bon Bon chose to use the small disc, but she would play with anything, but she's actually too small to be able to carry the big disc. She trips over them. When she catches, it would like jam into her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw that one time and then I was like, okay, no more.
Yeah, that's
no
like
more
with
small
Flair.
disc.
Flair's okay. Like if it's a really light disc, if it's an air or fastback, she can keep it held up. But I noticed if it's like a heavier disc, then she can't lift it up as much and she'll trip over it. And so I tend not to use those.
So that's the big thing to determine what size disc to use. In Skyhounds, obviously you don't have a choice, but in all the other organizations you can choose. But there's a really good shot. If you got a small dog, they should probably be using small discs. And Hero makes small discs as well.
Yes.
So you've got, and they make multiple materials, or at least a couple.
The main disc is the Hero Atom, but then they have some different styles of it with different types of plastics that you can look at. Kind of like Skyhounds, they have the pup disc that they have the different styles and plastics.
So you have a couple different options of the small discs that you could use, and you got to take the dog safety and everything into consideration.
Yeah,
with
that's
their
number
size.
one. And I think as much as for me, I believe the smaller discs are harder to throw.
They're way harder. Way harder.
But I think you have to use whatever the dog dictates that you use because their safety is the most important. So generally, most small dogs, it's better to use a small disc so they're not like the disc isn't touching the ground if they're doing a jump or they're trying to run. It's much safer to use a smaller type disc with them. Right.
And for me, a couple notes on the small disc. I actually fell in love with the MicroDog division because of the small disc and the challenge in throwing it. I thought it was so difficult, and I just took the challenge upon myself to try to learn how to master this disc. And I really like doing that. I love whenever I could go out there and throw this tiny disc, especially in toss and fetch, and throw as good as everyone else is throwing their big discs and getting scores just as good.
There's been a couple days where I'm throwing those little discs and I'm like, hey, maybe I should just use these with Sora, who's a bigger dog, just because I was throwing him good that day. But it was a big learning curve for me to figure out how to throw those, especially in toss and fetch. It was like, I feel like I just shank them all the way off to the side. It was like, oh my gosh.
I say they're basically impossible to throw. I mean, they're really tough. But another thing I did with Key, I would use both. And the way I did that was in freestyle, I always used the small discs. And that's because I'm going to be going out there and doing 25 throws with her. That's 25 times she's going to have to deal with, if it's a big disc, a bigger disc. So it's just less time. And it's also a lot more jumping and things like that. So I would use the small disc no matter what with Key and freestyle. But when I had the option, like in UFO or something else, I would use the bigger disc for toss and fetch because she really didn't have a problem carrying it. She didn't like them as much, but when you only do 5 throws, it didn't become an issue for her in toss and fetch. But in freestyle, if I use those big discs, about halfway through the round, I could tell she's just like over these giant discs, constantly having to catch them. And so, yeah, that's my opinion on those discs and what you should do or at least consider doing. And what's your favorite disc, or do you have a couple discs of the small discs? Because there's a huge variety. Do you have maybe a couple that are your favorite?
It's hard to call any of the small discs my favorite because
the small discs.
I really don't quite like them very much. And it's funny because I played with Spirit with the Hyperflex pups because those were his favorite, the ones that he would really like just go crazy for because they're a little bit on the gummy side, and he just loved those. And man, I struggled to throw those in toss and fetch, and it killed me because Spirit was like a killer toss and fetch dog. He would catch everything. I mean, as long as it was a reasonable throw, he would totally catch everything. So it made me mad to no end because I had this little dog that could catch everything and I couldn't throw the darn discs. And so it was a big learning curve. And unfortunately, by the time I got pretty good at throwing them, he was older. So he couldn't quite do the toss and fetch that he was once capable of. And then when I got Flair, I was at least able to use the more durable pup discs, the Jaws plastic. And those are a little bit easier to throw, and I've gotten better at them. But man, they are a challenge. And now I feel pretty good, but Flair is a much harder dog to throw toss and fetch to than Spirit was. So, then now the roles are reversed. I can finally throw, but my dog is much more challenging to play with now than Spirit was. So, yeah, I mean, if I have to pick one, it would be the pup disc with the Jaws plastic, the competition standard style Jaws pup with the Jaws plastic. So that's probably the one that part of it is I'm just most familiar with it. I think of the smaller discs, it's probably easier to throw. I think the Adams are good too. They fly well, but I think, for me, it's hard to flip flop back and forth between them. And Flair's got some challenges with catching. So to keep the disc consistent with her is usually the best strategy. So I tend to just stick to those little black Jaws pups with her.
Yeah, and I like the Jaws pup the most by far overall, but I had to use the Super Adams. Are they called Super? I think they're called Super Adams.
I think they're just Adams.
Adams.
But they've had some different names
over the years.
They have a couple
different types. I think they got like the candy and the taffy. I think these are the taffy that we got. You can't see through them. I really like those in the freestyle. They were really nice. I would say they're on par with the Jaws pup in freestyle. But in toss and fetch, I honestly just don't like them. I think they're pretty bad in toss and fetch. They just get blown all over the place. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're lighter. I haven't really weighed them.
Well, those were for IDC, so you didn't really get to throw them that much.
I didn't have to worry about it. I only had to throw them 30
just had to throw into the bonus
33
square,
yards, 35 yards.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is they probably just fly really different from the pups, so it's challenging to your usual way of throwing the small discs maybe just doesn't work with those, so you'd have to refigure, but you don't have to worry about it because those were for IDC.
But the good thing, I mean, like in freestyle, I didn't have to adjust it. I just was able to throw them exactly the same. And Bon really likes them in freestyle. Almost maybe she likes them more somehow. I don't know why exactly, but I haven't used them enough to really know. But definitely check those out if you want to try something different from the Jaws discs, because most people use Jaws.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is just due to a lot of people play MicroDogs, so then they're involved in the Skyhounds world, and then they end up with the Jaws discs, which they're good.
Yep. So I thought now we could talk a little bit about the doggy, which is the most important part. And they have the most important advantage that they have is what?
That they're really cute.
Yes.
They're really cute. That's the best advantage of all. I mean, the cutest division. I mean, if you watch championships that have multiple divisions and one of them is the little dog division, that's the cutest one.
I love whenever I see the wiener dogs because I love wiener dogs so much, and whenever I see them and they're doing it, that just does it for me.
We've seen corgis, we've seen Papillon, we've seen Chihuahua, Pomeranian mix. Like, there's a lot of cute little
Boston Terriers.
Oh yeah. So
all kinds of little mixes of who knows what.
Yeah, and they're all cute as could be.
Yes.
So that's probably one of the biggest advantages. I think another advantage of the little dogs is that they can potentially do things in freestyle that could be really challenging or even impossible with a larger dog. So, even tricks like a foot stall. I've seen people have the dog stall on their arms or different parts of their body. That would be really challenging with bigger dogs. Smaller dogs, usually it's a little easier.
What's the trick I do that's pretty cool?
Oh my gosh.
Doggy.
So Jeff's signature move is that he catches Bon and he actually takes Bon's whole body in one hand and goes underneath his leg and puts her under his leg and grabs her on the other side.
I mean, there is no chance
Do you have a
I'd be
name
able to
for
do.
that?
No, the IDC asked me, and I just made
You
something up
should
dumb,
probably.
like I put her under my leg. You know, like I didn't come up. I don't ever come up with like cool
You
names
should
for any
probably
of my
name
moves.
that one. That's very
Trademark it.
It's very bonbon-esque. Do you want to try it with Link later?
I don't think I'll be able to do that
Come
with
on, you don't
45
think we
pounds.
can do that in pairs? You could do that with Link, and it'd be great.
It's an extremely difficult move, and whenever I first was doing it with her, I mean, I wanted to drop her like almost every time, but I would just grab her with my other hand, kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
I did it safely. The other thing that was a little bit tough about it, or could be dangerous, you could hit her with your leg pretty easily because it's her head going under. And Bonbon, I mean, I never really hit her. I maybe bumped her a little bit a couple times, but Bonbon just puts her head down. She just goes like this.
She knows.
Completely limp, and then I just put her under, and she doesn't squirm, doesn't do anything. And normally she's a real squirmy dog,
Yeah.
you know.
She knows the drill
And
now.
she just does it, and I think she really likes it. It's a lot of fun. It's really cute, but I would never be able to do that with a you know, a bigger dog.
Yeah.
All those like fun foot stalls and things, like you do one with Flair where you grab her. I think you move her onto your back or side or something a different kind of way. You do something where you reposition her.
Yes, but I do it with the big dogs too. I can get away with it.
But you know, there's like a lot of things that you can do in freestyle that you couldn't do with a big dog.
Absolutely.
But
I think I was going to say, like Spirit, I was able to do a foot vault. He had a lot more room on my feet. When I do it with Sora, it's much more challenging for bigger dog. Spirit was able to do the foot vault quite well because he was little.
And you'll be able to do a stall on 1 foot easier kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Just different
There's
types
a lot of
like
things,
that.
the dog's rolling on the back or, you know, back stalls, and like they want to spin around on your back is much easier if they're smaller. There's a lot of tricks, especially that are close up tricks that you can get away with a little easier. I saw, I believe her name's Melissa Millett, and it wasn't a Frisbee dog, it was a Chihuahua, and the dog walked around her head, like over her shoulders, behind her. Oh my gosh, that was just like, as somebody that has a little dog like that needs to turn that into a Frisbee move. That would be just crazy. But I was going to say maybe one other advantage that you maybe wouldn't think to be an advantage is that when a small dog does something that you don't expect them to be able to do, or something that you would think only a larger dog would be able to do, there is a little bit more wow factor. It can be viewed to the audience, to the judges, as more impressive. And so some examples of that would be like Al Erickson and Little George. He would do a back vault, but he'd do 2 discs on the back vault, and George would have to catch 2 discs, which I think is really, really cool when you see a big dog do it. But when you see a little dog do it, you're like, wow, I really wasn't expecting them to be able to do
and
that.
I've never seen another dog do that, and I've never seen them miss that.
Yeah, they rarely missed it.
I mean, they did that every single round for a decade, and I never can remember a miss on that. Whereas other people I've seen do it with big dogs, they maybe hit it
hard.
every other time, you know, or something like that, because the discs need to stay together when you throw them.
It's a challenging trick on the dog and the handler, because the handler's got to throw it right, and the dog's got to make sure they catch both of them, and they have to adjust their mouth.
And with those small discs, it's got to be even harder to throw it.
Oh yeah,
I've never tried it because most dogs don't like it.
I mean, I've done it with Flair, but it was nothing that I could do consistently in the routine. And another example of like a trick that maybe would be more challenging for a big dog, but when they do it, it looks great. Flair has a trick where she does arm overs. So she jumps over one arm, and the other arm I toss the disc, so she's doing it over the arm. Except for I do it mostly standing. I'm not on the ground. I am crouched a little bit, but I try not to crouch down too low because I want to give the effect of like I'm standing and she's jumping that high. She's pretty spectacularly athletic, so she's able to jump over my arms and clear it pretty easily, which is really impressive. So, you know, just kind of some examples of tricks like that you wouldn't really expect a little dog to be able to do all that, and they do.
So you notice we haven't mentioned something at all as an advantage, and that's toss and fetch. Because there is no advantage in toss and fetch.
No.
If you think of one, write it in the comments, because I'd like to know. We want to learn. Maybe we could use that to our advantage.
Yeah.
If we find out there's some way to have an advantage.
Most of the small dogs, their advantages come in freestyle, and they don't come so much in toss and fetch. So,
and they might have a little bit of advantage in some of the games, maybe
Like
spot
bullseye.
landing, bullseye,
Yeah, spot
those
landing
kinds of
for
things
sure.
where it's closer. Basically, just stuff that's smaller. Anything that's small is something that's going to help the small dog. So
Right.
those are on very small fields, and you don't need to throw very far, and they're not going to be doing these long outruns like a big dog might do, and they're not going to jump over the zones and different things like that. So you can have a little bit of an advantage.
Maybe one advantage could be in skyhounds, toss and fetch, or distance accuracy, as they call it. Maybe your dog is less likely to jump out of bounds because they're a little smaller. But I mean, that's really no advantage.
That has been a massive advantage to me with Bon Bon, because I've thrown so many near the edge, and then she just goes her little doing, and then she almost never goes out. That
hasn't helped me at all with Flair, because Flair jumps like a big dog anyway. So
she has to catch it first too.
She does have to catch it. Yeah, exactly. To me, I'm like, I don't even care where you catch it. Just please catch it, Flair. But not a lot of advantage in toss and fetch, and a lot of it's just due to they can't get the same ground speed that a larger dog can. Sometimes they don't have the stamina. I mean, they're smaller, so it's like running. It's not running further for them, but they're having to work harder to reach those distances.
And it's generally tougher for them to track because they're smaller, to cover ground whenever they're trying to follow a disc that's curving. And in toss and fetch, you got a lot more of that.
Cover ground I just know this from experience with like Flash. He was always awesome in wind, because if the disc would kind of make a quick turn or move and he wasn't expecting it, he could take just one stride and make up everything and get there. Whereas like a little dog doesn't have that, and they usually don't have as much power to be able to do that either.
And I've seen a lot of them. It seems like the smaller dogs just lose the discs more in toss and fetch. There's probably just something related to their size. Their eyes are smaller. I don't know. I don't know what it would be, but they definitely can't find the disc as well. And like I said, in toss and fetch, you throw further, higher. I've seen so many small dogs, when they throw the disc, they start going, and they're like, where to go? They don't have any idea. The big dogs can do that and stuff. Maybe it's because it's the smaller disc and it's just harder to see. Who knows? But
I do think a lot of the smaller dogs tend to be either like, like their history, their genes and stuff is like terrier type dogs that are going underground to find something, or not a lot of dogs are looking in the air or looking at far distances to do their jobs. So like if you think of, greyhounds and sighthounds, they're watching a lure from really far away. If you're thinking of a herding dog, like a border collie, they're watching the sheep from really far away. If you're thinking hunting dogs, they're chasing after a bird that's far away. I think the smaller breeds tend not to be bred for those types of jobs, just in general, and for other reasons, not because they can't see, but I think those dogs tend to just genetically, most dogs, their history, they're not exposed to that, and they needed to be closer to the ground and looking at the ground and sniffing, a lot of them, and things like that. Whether you talk about like some little basset hound or some of the small terriers, like you mentioned, like they're not supposed to be looking up. Yes, and usually it's not far away. It's more, I believe, my understanding is it's more of a sniffing thing. Like terriers, when they're going underground to get a little vermin, they're following the path and the scent. They're not watching. Of course, when they see it and they get there, they're crazy. But it's a little different than some of the other dog jobs that we typically see of the bigger dogs. So this may be something to think about. That doesn't mean they can't do it at all. Of course. So and there is the biggest disadvantage, though, and this is pretty much across the board, is that they have a harder time catching. They're just smaller, and we talked a little bit about that, but it's in freestyle as well. They have a smaller mouth. Well, they can't turn and react. You can attribute that too to the discs. If you're using a smaller disc, it's harder for the handler to throw. So maybe those dogs are not getting as good of throws. So that's another way to look at it. It's all of those things, but when you're watching them, and in my experience with my dogs, everything I've seen, it's challenging. It's just much more difficult. I think that's the biggest disadvantage for small dogs is catching. I think I would say probably the next biggest disadvantage is the speed, like we talked about. And they're just smaller. They can't get the speed. In toss and fetch, I mean, if it's anything but USDDN, who has the 90-second rule in your top 5 count, I think that was their way to kind of even out the small dogs versus the big dogs, is to, the speed is an advantage, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't throw down a perfect round. I've seen it happen before. I've watched several times Jack Folly and Spice would throw down perfect rounds at USDDN, and they had more time, and she was a small Aussie, so she was able to get all of that at USDDN. But in the 1 minute toss and fetch, I mean, it's pretty rare for a little dog going 40 yards to get 5 throws. It's really, really hard.
Right.
So whereas a big portion of the big dogs that are good at toss and fetch, almost all of them are getting 5 throws. This very small portion of the small dogs that are getting 5 throws.
And most of the people throwing the small discs aren't able to throw 40 yards with the small discs.
That's hard too.
To be honest with you, most people with the big disc can't throw 40 yards. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
But even less, it is I got to throw them really almost as hard as I can throw them to get a solid 40-yard throw, unless I want to worry about, unless I'm going to shank it or something like that. So it's extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I have an interesting disadvantage that I think I see, whether I don't want to say I'm tall. I'm average for a guy, but for the field of competitors, I'm taller than the average person. And when you see a tall person or someone who's way bigger than their dog, the dog's jumps and things don't look as impressive. They don't
look as high because you can see how little.
So it's like the opposite of you playing with a big dog and you have these big jumps. It looks even bigger. So you have a bit of a disadvantage.
I do feel I have an advantage with Flair specifically in that point because I'm 5 foot tall. She can jump, so her jumps look really big. Like when I have her do a flip dog catch, I mean, she's flipping up to my shoulders, which she's already super athletic, but it looks even more so because I'm short. So you're right, it is a disadvantage, I think, for the size difference. It makes it a little bit more difficult.
A lot of people have stated, well, there's no disadvantage of freestyle, and I completely disagree with that. I feel that they have a massive disadvantage. We already talked that they can't catch the disc as well. It's tougher for them to catch. They're not as fast. These are generalizations, of course, as we're saying. We have very fast MicroDogs and really good catching MicroDogs, but most aren't as fast. Most don't catch as well. And when you take all those into consideration, if you're in the open division, you're comparing it to an Aussie that's getting this huge air, they don't look as impressive. They just don't. Or a border collie that's zooming like a lightning, it's not going to look as good. And the other thing, you don't get as many throws. I've judged these divisions many times. MicroDogs get less throws.
Well, I have one that challenges that.
Well, I understand that. Again,
Flair's neurotic. She's crazy.
These are generalizations. I mean,
yes, that's true. Generally you get less throws.
Bon had a 27.5 in DA. That's almost impossible.
Spirit, I would always get less throws and stuff. I mean, it was always slower with Spirit and always, He's really like a true microdog where he has all the disadvantages of being a microdog. That's for sure.
So do you have any, I didn't have anything else on that. I only had one other idea.
Yeah, I don't feel as strongly that they're significantly disadvantaged. I think they're a little bit disadvantaged. But I do think some of the advantages of playing with a small dog in freestyle make up for those disadvantages. Mainly that they're cute.
That is the main one.
You get to go home at the end of the day and look at your adorable dog.
You should definitely be getting cute points.
So, I mean, that trumps any kind of result that you'll ever get is getting to go home at the end of the day and look at your adorable little dog. So, I think we kind of covered the disadvantages. I mean, it's really what you said. It's harder. They have to work harder. And a whole different question is, how should they be judged differently from the big dogs? But
and in USDDN, that is in the rules. But I will tell you right now, it doesn't happen. I'm sorry, anyone can say, "Oh, sure, I do that." I don't believe them. But
for what? What do you mean?
In the rules in USDDN, it says that the dog is judged based on the type of breed it is, the size of it, and all that kind of stuff.
I don't think that happens.
I don't think it happens. No. I mean, I'm sure USDDN might want to jump down my throat for that because I am a board member, but I'm just saying what I see.
You don't.
When's the last time you've seen a small dog win anything in USDDN?
I haven't seen a lot of small dogs
near
never
happened.
The top.
As far as I can think of.
Which is interesting.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point.
I believe that they should have a small dog division, but it's in the rules that everything's equal, basically. And even in toss and fetch, it's still not equal because they still can't get as many throws. So you have extra tries with the bigger dogs.
I will say, though, it is not impossible, though, for a small dog to get up there against the big dog. So just to give some shout outs to some little dogs who have absolutely crushed some big dog events. The first on my list is Al Erickson and George, who not only won the MicroDog Championship many times, but they also were on the podium at Skyhounds with in the big dog division, in the open division. So I think that's incredibly impressive. Another one was Key, second in the open division. She at UFO Tesora, and she was up there. And
freestyle, she was, I think, second as well.
Yeah.
And she also placed in.
Did she place in
AWI in toss and fetch? Again, second or third place. I can't remember exactly. And I think that's her main ones. It's hard to remember all of these.
Brad Denny's Maya. I mean, all the success that Maya has had.
I just remember another one from Key. She was second place in Skyhounds Freestyle.
Oh, the Discogathon.
Yes,
right.
To Muse.
I forgot about that. Well, because Muse kind of stole the show.
And she's probably had a few others. But
yeah, she's had a lot.
And Brad with
Maya. Maya's a MicroDog, so she's won the open. Well, she won the big dog freestyle at Skyhounds. Yes. Open sounds confusing because it sounds like open classic, but open freestyle at Discogathon. Yeah. So, and I mean, she's been on the podium countless times at other events like IDC.
Yes.
You know, things like that. Even Stavit with her little dog was on the podium at the IDC this year. So, you know, and of course, it's kind of funny because the IDC, it was all three little dogs on the podium.
It was.
And everybody else was not a little dog. So, you know, it definitely can be a small dog domination. And I think we're seeing it more and more.
I give the shout out to Bon Bon. She won that IDC event. She also has a perfect 27.5 score in DA. Perfect. Of course, you can't technically score more. 5 for 5, 27.5 in the MicroDog division, which is absolutely insane. And that's, of course, a world record. I will be shocked if anyone can beat that. Maybe she'll tie herself.
Yeah,
I've had so many close ones with her that we almost did it again, but I have to give her that shout out. I did want to go over some of the
And by the way, those are just some of them. I'm sure we've missed some. That's not an all-inclusive list. Just kind of some of the ones, of course, our personal friends that we know, so they're at the top of our minds. But just wanted to kind of give a shout out, and you know, don't feel like just because you have a small dog that you can only play in small dog. I mean, it's great that these are offered, but you and your little dog can always go play anywhere, and doesn't mean you don't have a chance to nail it.
And I wanted to give a shout out to some of the other famous MicroDogs that have been out there. Tim's Augie.
Yeah, Augie.
He's a great dog. A little Parsons Russell terrier, right?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Everyone knows
Ziva.
Yeah.
Peter Williams,
Peter Williams, Ziva.
So cute.
And it was really great because he's like 6'5", maybe.
Yeah, he's super tall.
He's really tall.
And this corgi wasn't just like, he wasn't even normal corgi size.
She was a really tiny, pudgy little corgi.
She was tiny. Like you almost, like if the grass was a little bit long, you couldn't see the space between her chest and the ground because she was so tiny.
Lily's Mamba.
Yeah, Mamba's really awesome.
Spice.
Spice is awesome.
And you know, we've already mentioned some of our dogs, of course, Key and Bon Bon.
We already mentioned George.
And George with that's Al's dog.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some that
there's
we're
so
I mean, there's been so many great ones, but I just wanted to give some off the top of your heads if you want to go search them out or talk to people about their dogs.
Yeah, definitely check them out because it's fun to watch. It's a little bit of a different game, but it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to play. So, you know, if you're thinking about a small dog, it's a lot of fun. I don't regret it one bit. It's really a lot of fun.
What has this been?
This has been the Disc Dog Pod.
Peace out.
Thanks for coming. Bye.